Hello, 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 and welcome back to That Quirky Bird Girl. I am your host, Steph, and today I have a debrief for you all from an amazing resort that I was sent to at La Selva Resort Lodge, and I was in the outskirts, let's say, of Coca, Ecuador, and it was such an amusing, amazing, beautiful place, beautiful space. I'll tell you a little bit about the journey to get there in just a few seconds, but this is kind of a conjunction of my trip down to Ecuador. I spent 3 weeks there, a bunch of time in Quito, a bunch of time in Mindo. I'll be doing different videos about those just to share with y'all how amazing that part of the trip was. But in addition to that portion, at about halfway through the trip, it was a 3 week trip, I made my way down to or over to Coca, Ecuador, which is in the middle of the Amazon forest. And I had the opportunity to go from Coca down through the Napo River for 2 hours. Yeah, that's right, 2 hours. Isn't that wild? The ride is super smooth, super easy. Probably one of the easiest rides that I've been on. But again, it was 2 hours on the Napo River heading down. Absolutely beautiful. You're going to pass by different rock structures, different birds. You're going to see a bunch of great egrets, snowy egrets, maybe some parrots, depending on the day that you're arriving or the time of day that you're arriving. A bunch of different birds to see. But 2 hours on this boat. It's a pretty smooth ride. It's an motorized boat, and you're just steaming through the Napo River. The water is not necessarily beautiful. It's like a brown color, but the ride in and of itself is actually beautiful. So you'll get there after about 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Once you arrive, you'll then be transferred over into a canoe, and that canoe will be rowed manually by two individuals, and you'll go another 30 minutes down and through this narrow area where you will finally arrive to the resort. Once you get to the resort, you're going to be absolutely astonished, one, with how the heck they got everything that needed to be there, and two, how amazing the staff is and how terribly kind they are. Now, you'll be greeted by one individual. I was greeted by somebody named Miguel. He walked us through this beautiful slideshow, talked to us about the different important things to keep in mind while you are on the lodge grounds. And all of that was really great. I'm going to get into the food now, though, because the food was miraculous. Now, when you arrive, they'll be immediately giving you food, like little lunch boxes that you can take on the ride into the 2 hours that I mentioned earlier. That food is delicious. Now, if you're new to my page, you might not know that I'm celiac, so I have to eat gluten-free. That was an American Robin. So stunning. And so that was the first thing that was on my mind. I was a little bit worried. I didn't know if I could actually eat what they had or what they prepared for me. And so I was worried. I was admittedly worried. And my worries were immediately calmed when I realized that they were taking into consideration the food that I needed. So they did that with the box lunch. And then by the time that we arrived, I was starving. I was so hungry. And so I needed more food, and we were able to eat later in the day. The food times, I will say, they are like pretty far apart, and you will find yourself getting hungry. So I just recommend bringing different snacks to keep you sustained throughout the trip. You'll be getting up really early. They have you getting up at about like 5 o'clock in the morning. You're eating breakfast, and breakfast is really, really, really quick, and they want you out the door like immediately again. And then lunch is much later in the day. It's about 2 p.m., 1 to 2 p.m., which is a really, really big window. I struggled with that much activity and then not being able to get access to food. Or they do have like small food items, but all of it was sugar based. And for me personally, like if I eat sugar, I just end up getting dizzy. And so it just didn't end up working out in that way for me. So by the time 2 o'clock came around, I was so hungry. Was able to finally get food at 2 p.m. and then everything was fine. You eat later in the day. I think it would be around like 8, 7, 8, kind of depending on the day and the different types of excursions that were going on. But once you sat down at that table, y'all, it was so worth it to have that wait. The chef did such an amazing job at caring for my allergies, at making sure that I still had opportunities to decide what it is that I was wanting to eat. So it wasn't just like they were coming to me and saying, you'll have turkey for today. They were like, you can have this, this, this. They gave me 4 different options. And that was so nice to be able to choose because it felt like I still had a certain degree of agency over the type of food that I was wanting to be able to eat. Food was delicious. I'll pop in some photos here and there of the different things. They give you an appetizer, let's say, like something to start you off. They give you a second plate, which is the actual meal. Often it will have meat in it. And then a third plate, which is a dessert. Absolutely scrumptious, delicious. I recommend, if anything, just for the food. Let's get into the staff because I talked about the chef. He was absolutely wonderful. He was kind. He was great about taking orders in the morning when you get there for breakfast. They'll either have a buffet or something pre-prepared for you, and then he will cook eggs for you if that's something that you want. There were a few times that my egg order was off, but mind you, this is 5 a.m. in the morning, so I'll give a little grace for that. But it was delicious. The food was delicious. The staff was so kind. When you're sitting down to eat, they'll ask you a bunch of different questions. If they're worried about how you're feeling, then they will check in on you, which is something that is just, it's so kind. I mentioned Miguel earlier, but he was also so very hands-on, so kind, so willing to, like, if you weren't happy with a specific experience or something that happened, then he was willing and able to help you. In addition to that, I want to talk about someone who is very, very, very special and who really made the whole experience what it was. And his name was Sixto. I'll pop in a picture right here of what he was, what he looks like. And he was just an amazing. So he was one of the indigenous guides as a part of the Quichua local community tribe. And he was just, I can't say better things about him. He was so, so, so knowledgeable about the land, about the trees, about the wildlife, about just everything. Everything came back to what he was able to offer on the tour. One thing I will say is he did speak Quechua and Spanish. He did not speak English. Because I speak Spanish, it wasn't a problem for me to be able to communicate directly with him and for him to share a little bit more to or with me, which made the experience just infinitely better. There was also a second guide, which I'll get into him a little bit later, that was on the ground, and he was just amazing, the information that he was able to describe. And then the second guide was able to translate that over into English for those of the group members that didn't speak English, because there were about 7 of us in the group. Me and one other person spoke Spanish, but the rest did not. Well, actually, another person did speak Spanish. So there were quite a few of us, but for the most part, English was the predominant language that was being spoken. So if you're worried about going to Ecuador and what if they don't speak English, they'll speak English. Don't worry about that. That's not even a concern. That being said, I do really, really, really encourage you to learn some Spanish. Part of going to another country is experiencing their culture, the way they enjoy to live, and it's really hard to experience that when you're speaking your own home language. It helps a lot to be able to speak another language. So I encourage you, at the bare minimum, just learn a few words that can help you get by so that you can connect a little bit better with the local culture, because it will make a difference in the experience that you have. Now, my last thing that I want to talk about is be on time. This place does not joke about times. They will come at your door. They will knock it at 5 a.m. Make sure that you're up. If you struggle with time awareness, with ability to be on time, this might not be the place for you, because they will literally leave you. I went on a tour. We were going to see the parrots out on the water on the Napo River. And the guide, literally, the person was 3 to 4 minutes late. The guide literally said, like, let's go, we're leaving. And they take time very, 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 very seriously. Just be on time for anything and everything. my experiences with everyone else on the lodge was just absolutely phenomenal. It could not have been better. Just make sure that you're on time and everything will go smoothly and you'll enjoy your experience at the lodge. They have different stays and durations that you can be there for. So 3, 4, or 7 days. I stayed for 3 days and it was like wind, like light force wind. I mean, when I tell you you don't have time to take a break and just pause and like take a nap and relax, like it is go go go. There were times where I just put myself to sleep. I would just take a nap because I was so hungry and I didn't want to stay awake and still be hungry, and that would usually be around the middle of the day. But it was such a beautiful place. I would absolutely go again. I would hope that they make lunch a little bit earlier. But outside of that, it was such a beautiful experience. They have a little pool area that's so cool to hang out in. Outside of that, there are a bunch of birds that are wisping by that you can enjoy. There are like Amazonian forest type crocodiles that you can see, a bunch of different monkeys, there are otters, so much wildlife for you to enjoy and experience at this lodge that, in spite of the things that I mentioned earlier, I would absolutely go back and enjoy this experience all over again. It was amazing, and I'm so grateful to all of the team over at La Selva for having me, for allowing me to experience the nature and the beauty that they've built. They're also incredibly intentional about what they have built, so they work directly with local communities, the Quechua communities, to ensure that they have things like school, access to water, access to funds is a huge thing, because what's happening in the Amazon forest right now is absolutely devastating. It's being taken over by mines, and a lot of that comes along with alcohol abuse and just a variety of different things that can make life harder for people who are not interested in welcoming mines into their specific area. So La Selva actually gives them an alternative that they can live in outside of just making their community a mine town, because that's not what this is all about. And I'm so grateful to what they're building, what they're creating, the projects that they've put forth. They'll be putting in solar panels over the summer so that they can become entirely reliant on what the earth provides. And it was just such an amazing experience. If you haven't checked it out yet, take a look. I'll link it down in the description below. But I hope y'all have an amazing, amazing time. If you are heading there, if you're not, put it in your plans. I hope to see you there. I'm going to continue documenting my travel experiences, and I hope that y'all have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you on the other side. I love you so much. Bye. Oh, and be sure to subscribe, like, follow, comment. Let me know all of the things. I love you. Bye.